Is National Treasury planning to bail out SAA with funds from the PIC? Can state entities survive without bailouts and government guarantees? How can National Treasury describe its relationship with PIC CEO Matjila? Why has Finance Minister Malusi Gigaba called an urgent meeting with the PIC board? What time is it? It's question time. And welcome to the show. My name is Mpho Tsedu. Finance Minister Malusi Gigaba has refuted reports that National Treasury wants to use 100 billion rand of the Public Investment Corporation funds to bail out state-owned entities. Gigaba's reaction follows comments by PIC Chief Executive Officer Matjila, carried in a newspaper yesterday. According to the edition, Matjila says certain people want him removed from his position. This would result in those people having what he calls easier access to the 1.9 trillion rand controlled by the PIC. The PIC is set to oversee the biggest fund on the continent, managing about 1.9 trillion rand in assets. Most of its assets belong to the Government Employees Pension Fund. Meanwhile, the South African Federation of Trade Unions wants a moratorium on government employees' pension funds to ensure that the funds cannot be used to bail out state entities. We are live, and therefore you can call us and air your views. The numbers to dial 089-110-4210 or +2789-110-4210. Our Twitter handle at QuestionTime24. My guest today is Mpho Tsedu. He is the spokesperson for the Finance Ministry. So, welcome to the show, man, and thank you. I know we took you out of holiday. The joys of working for government, I guess. Yeah. But thanks very much for making time. Firstly, this show is one of the programs which we have said it on record previously that we have an interest in the PIC, and we've been doing a lot of work on the PIC, and we know a lot about the PIC. I was just shocked yesterday to hear, didn't read, heard that the CEO says, well, he's implying that the minister and his deputy, who is the chair of the PIC, want access to 1.9 trillion rand so that they can do as they wish.
Well, from the reports I read, it's alleged that the CEO of PIC said that there are individuals who want to have access to PIC, and these individuals are trying to influence whether he stays or departs from PIC. From the reports that I read, he doesn't implicitly say that it's the minister or the deputy minister, but I can understand the insinuation it has, and we have had engagements with the CEO, and he says a number of his comments were taken completely out of context and have been distorted. That notwithstanding, the specifics of what he said will be dealt with in tomorrow's meeting, which the minister has called urgently.
Okay, maybe let me just address the PIC. To avoid being taken or quoted out of context, perhaps it would be in your advantage or in your favor to honor our invitation or request to come to our show, because for our viewers' sake, we have been inviting PIC. In the previous instances, they have said, we don't want to participate on your show. And today, they don't answer phones, they don't answer SMSs, and all that. And I think, well, maybe they're just still pursuing their stance that they don't want to participate on the show. But this would be another platform where you won't have to be quoted out of context because you will be speaking for your own self. But, well, yeah, we've been trying to get PIC here because we've got issues to question of a corruptive nature and all that, but they are not in favor of participating on our show. So, Malcolm, let's get the facts right here. Is Treasury intending to use 100 billion rand to save underperforming state-owned enterprises?
No. There is absolutely no truth to that whatsoever.
Where does it come from now?
You see, and I'm glad you are posing the question to the people you should be posing it to.
Yeah.
Because the comments are allegedly attributed to the PIC CEO. So it would be he would be the best person to respond to those comments. But as far as National Treasury goes, there's never been a request for National Treasury to get 100 billion from the PIC. The mandate of the PIC might not even fit that type of request. The type of demands we are getting from state-owned companies that need financial support, SAA that's asking for capital injection of around 10 billion, SABC which is asking for a guarantee which is around or under 3 billion. Now, 100 billion and what we are currently trying to address are two issues that are far removed from each other. So as far as the story goes, there is completely no truth to it. And as far as the story goes that we have given a directive or made a formal request or otherwise for them to give money to help failing state-owned companies, this is completely not true.
Yeah, you know, PIC is really making things very difficult. But yeah, we're still making that appeal. PIC, whoever, please get in touch. We do want to hear from you. But perhaps you were saying that there's this meeting tomorrow. What is the meeting about? Because, I mean, my understanding here is that the Deputy Minister is the chairperson of the PIC board, and therefore Malusi Gigaba is a little bit, you know, far away. He's not hands-on on these matters. Why is he coming in? Why is he the one calling the meeting? Well, the Deputy Minister's role is a delegated duty. So it's the Minister that's delegated that duty to him. But ultimately, if something happens at PIC or even SAA, it's the Minister that will have to answer for whatever happens. So in as much as there's no overstepping of boundaries in terms of the Minister getting involved and calling a meeting, but there's naturally, when these type of reports are coming out, there is a concern on his side that he has to hear from the board and from the executive about what's going on at the PIC. This story that comes out on Sunday, it would not be the first story that came out about the PIC. There was also a story which we had to respond to, which made suggestions that there was a board meeting that was going to happen, and in that board meeting there was an intention to remove the CEO of the PIC. As we speak, the CEO is still the CEO of the PIC and he wasn't removed. Maybe the question that we should ask is, why are you not removing him? Because there's overwhelming evidence that there's a lot that's going wrong there at the PIC. And I say so because I'm one of the people who have been trying to get this matter of the PIC addressed. And we have a lot of things. Well, I would think the shareholder doesn't have the luxury to remove people without evidence. And without that evidence being tested. Yeah. So if somebody makes an accusation against any particular individual, they have the responsibility to bring that information forward to the powers that be and to the people that are going to undertake an investigation. The board currently, as far as it goes with other matters, is looking into questions that have been raised about the CEO. Now, the board has repeatedly said that it gives the CEO the benefit of the doubt that he's innocent until proven guilty, and similarly the minister's approach is that too, that we should not cast aspersions on him and say that he is a corrupt person or he's done something wrong when evidence hasn't been tested to support that. Well, we have a lot of things which I just don't know how are we going to whether you will provide a platform for members of the public who have issues to raise with PIC, those who have had experiences there, to come up. But let's go to Sprayed View. Well, in that regard, if I can just quickly say, the chairperson of the PIC has been quite open in how he deals with questions that are raised about the CEO. So the Deputy Minister has, on different occasions, when questions were raised about PIC or anybody at the PIC, taken those concerns and asked the people that are being questioned to provide an answer, and then taken that back to the authorities to make sure that the answers given are in fact what really happened. So
The Deputy Minister is open to information that comes from the public, from insider, and anyone else who has evidence. But again, I want to emphasize, we cannot say the CEO of the PIC has done something wrong when there's no been investigation that has concluded that he has done something wrong.
Okay, Philip.
Mpho, how are you, sir?
I'm well. How are you, Daddy?
Fine, fine. My son, how are you, my brother?
I'm fine, sir. How are you?
Great, great. Mpho, two things quickly. You see, if you keep bailing out a corrupt person, you'll always have to bail them out again. And then one thing we have to understand is that our systems are so corrupt that this money has been targeted for years.
Yeah.
Now, all this ESCOM bailouts, all the bailouts, they were targeting this money finally. And secondly, the people that are in these departments that are hired, many of them are puppets. So they have no control. Chase them, fire them, do whatever you want, but you are not likely to solve the problem till you remove the leaders.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
All righty, Philip. Thanks very much. Well, I guess that's more commentary.
And he makes a good point. I mean, governance at state-owned companies is very important. And this is the point the minister has raised and the department has raised. The department's tradition actually has been around making sure that there's governance across all spheres of government. So the point that Philip is making is quite correct. Governance and well-functioning, financially stable state-owned companies are things that go hand in hand. When you have governance being undermined, you're going to have the type of problems that we are having.
Okay. Now, tomorrow's meeting. This is a meeting to address what? The allegations that are being raised in the newspapers, or what?
Well, it's to address the reports. Look, we can't take these reports lightly. If you're a person that's planned his life and is intending to retire, which I'm sure you are close to that age now, you've saved up money and you do not want to hear stories that your money is being used in a very flimsy manner. So Minister is rightfully responding correctly by making sure that he gets to the bottom of these reports. Any perception that continues to be perpetuated that PIC resources are being misused or there's an attempt to misuse them must be addressed. So it's not something to take lightly. So the minister is going to, even though it's not true that there's 100 billion that's being pursued by Treasury, but nonetheless, the minister has to get to the bottom of these issues. And if there are individuals who are deliberately spreading this misinformation, then those individuals must also be dealt with.
Okay, let's go to Rustenburg. Sono.
Mpho.
Yes, sir.
How are you, my big brother?
I'm very well, thanks. How are you?
I must also greet your guest there.
Yes.
Mr. Mpho.
Yes, sir.
You know, really, it's so hurting and it's so disappointing. Correctly, what is happening throughout the country concerning this thing of state enterprises.
Yes.
All the spheres, corruption. Nobody wants to come up and say, yes, this is correct, this is not correct. All of them, they're the same. Treasury, ESCOM, SAA, whatever. All of them are rotten and they're corrupt. And they know, it's very same as that guy, your guest there.
Yes.
He is also speaking for something that is not there. He's also a puppet.
Oh, he's also corrupt.
They are getting instruction from where? From certain world. These guys, they are making us fool. They think South Africa we are here for sweetened peanut. They are busy misusing our tax money. You know, it's so happy, really. Now that's how they look. To make the arrangement with those people from PIC. They are just sitting there looking at you and say, that's how they look at that guy. He wants us to come and talk about the reality here. That's how they look at that. All these people are corrupt people. But one day is one day. Thanks so much, Mpho.
All right. Thanks very much. That is Sono. They're calling us from Rustenburg. Well, yeah, very agitated there. Corruption is really, you know, rubbing people the wrong way, and more especially because we're talking people's pensions here.
We're talking people's pensions.
Are they safe?
Well, they are. But I don't think we should be. Dismissive of people's concerns.
Okay.
And let's also be honest, the environment and the issues of corruption in the country raise concern. So naturally, government must respond to the type of concerns that Sono is raising. But as far as me being a puppet, I can confirm that I'm not a puppet for anyone. I just work for National Treasury as president.
You mentioned Saxon World.
I haven't been to Saxon World, so anyway.
Okay. So I want to go back to this meeting tomorrow because I think it's very important. Are we allowed as the media to attend that meeting?
Yes, there will be a press conference after that meeting.
Who is going to be at the press briefing?
Well, the intention is to have board members there and members of the executive. So that would mean possibly your CEO and your CFO.
Okay. So you're saying I'm allowed to attend tomorrow's briefing?
I will not block you from coming to tomorrow's briefing.
And I'm allowed to ask anything I want to ask?
You're allowed to ask anything you're allowed to ask. This is what happens to most of our press briefings. We get quite robust questions and we try to answer as diligently as possible.
Okay, let's go to Mpumalanga. Bandile, is it Bandile or Wandile?
Bandile.
Oh, Bandile, welcome. That.
Yes, Mpho. Ngikhuluma ngesitulo.
Kulungile bhuti wami ngiqhubeke.
Yes, Mpho, cause ngibingelela lapho kuMayihlome nawe Mpho lapha e-studio. I-question yami kuMayihlome ukuthi why banga-remove ama-CEO walama state-owned enterprise because aba-perform and then we keep on bailing them and then at the end they do not perform. So how can you keep on bailing a company that does not perform?
Hey Bandile, you are not very honest. And your question goes in English. But it's fine, we get the gist.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, accountability is important. And it's important for shareholders to hold the executives accountable for their decisions. And I mean, there are examples of that accountability happening. If you look at the Minister of Public Enterprises' action with the acting CEO of ESCOM and with the CFO, if you look at some of the decisions that have been taken around other boards where people have been removed when they've not been performing, there are people who are taking those actions and holding people accountable. Can we do more? I think we could do a lot more to make sure that those people that misuse public funds are held accountable.
Okay. Now, and again, you know, I would have loved to ask this to the PIC because there's this statement that this CEO says he holds the key to the big safe, or you know, he's in charge of big monies, because our understanding is that there's a board there and he's not an individual who would have to decide on whether or not certain deals go through. But hey, PIC refuses to participate on this show, but we'll get them tomorrow. I would have to attend that press briefing, God willing. But Malcolm, I guess it then goes back to this question, and I'm not so sure if really I would be fair to you or you would be able to answer it. Whether would you know if the SAA directly approached the PIC for this 6 billion rand advance or guarantee?
I wouldn't know. Okay. I've spoken to a number of journalists that have said there's a possibility that this happened even before the minister was appointed as the Minister of Finance. I wouldn't know. Okay. The people who were in that meeting would be the CEO of PIC and the chairperson if that meeting happened. Okay. But as far as National Treasury goes, we are emphasizing the point that there's no 100 billion that has been that is being pursued by National Treasury to be taken from pensioners and to be plowed into these failing companies. That is not true.
Okay. Joe, you are in Nelspruit. Welcome.
Paul, thank you very much for the chance to speak to you guys. I'd just like to compare our situation as city councillors. I was a city councillor for 24 years. Okay. My pension was due to be paid out at 1.7 million. But when it got, and that was February of 2016, and when it got to September of 2016, because of bad investment, my pension only ended up as 789,000. And that gives me 5,000 a month as to 11,000 a month. Now, this is exactly the effect that it's going to have on pensioners. I know the railway pensioners are battling because they've only got a 1 or 2% increase since 1995 or 96, and it's because of bad investments and exactly the fact that you cannot invest in companies that are not going to give you a profit.
So you wouldn't support the move to put money into state-owned enterprises?
Absolutely not. I think it's going to be a very difficult decision, but I know.
Okay, Joe, thanks very much from Nelspruit there. I think it goes back to the question that I was saying that, talking people's futures, lives here, because, I mean, they've been working throughout their lives to, put aside this monies, which there's now doubts that they will ever, get them if some bad investment decisions are taken.
Well, as far as the truth goes, there's no doubt, because the story is completely is a falsehood. But I mean, the issue that Joe raises is the reason why Minister felt he had to respond and react the way that he did. Call an urgent meeting, get to the bottom of the matter. If there's undue influence, resolve it. If there's people who are spreading misinformation, deal with those people. So the response is in the light of what Joe is taking, to take these matters of pensions quite seriously, and not think of it as something that you can merely use for political gain, self-enrichment, or even to deal with internal issues that may be happening or not be happening at the PIC.
Okay, let's just check our Twitter handle there. Is it Hotso Lebueng says, why is the Minister of Finance not accessing political office bearers' funds? I don't know, political office bearers' funds, okay. And another one says, who should trust current guys at the Treasury, in particular that Deputy Minister? What happened at PRASA under him? And Wheeler says they want to misuse the money. Okay. Mutaheli Nyambeni, I think this government is too corrupt. We longer safe at the hands of leaders. So I think he wants to say we are no longer safe at the hands of leaders. Those are some of the tweets that we're getting there. Well, some were saying there right there on Twitter that there can never be a smoke without fire. So probably there's something that is going on here. But one of the questions that was raised in our preparations here was, you have an institution like Telkom, which is performing very, very well. Then you have other institutions that are performing badly. Why are you not able to take the leadership from from Telkom, and take them to these other institutions that are performing badly? I mean, it has been done in the past. Brian was taken from the trains to Eskom.
Well, I think we should be careful of creating a perception or an idea that there are 2 or 3 individuals in the corporate sector that are capable of turning things around at state-owned companies. Yes, there's a great deal of talent at Telkom and many other state-owned companies. And even in the private sector, there's a great deal of talent in the private sector that the minister has been engaging with the private sector about mining that talent to come assist at state-owned companies. But ultimately, it boils down to the shareholders' resolve to hold those people accountable. Okay. Whether they're talented or not, the issue of holding them accountable is going to be the most important thing.
Well, whilst you're here, maybe I should then ask, are there plans by Minister of Finance Malusi Gigaba to deploy Brian Molefe as Chief Executive of PIC?
No, if I can be frank, I'd say that's complete nonsense, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
So can we look forward to tomorrow's meeting that something will come out?
Well, I think the truth will come out. I think there's no preconceived idea of what is going to happen. Okay. We just want to get to the bottom of the issue and allay some of the fears that may exist amongst people that have pensions and members of the public and also members of the media. So we'll just speak to people and try, get them to understand that there is no such plan to take 100 billion rand from PIC and invested in failing state-owned companies.
Okay. Mpho Tsedu, thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate it. And to our viewers there, I will repeat that the PIC completely refuses to participate on anything that's got to do with question time. But we'll get them. Peliman, that was question time. And have yourself a wonderful time.